I was up late last night watching wrestling and Game of Thrones. I'm running on about 3 hours of sleep and I haven't had my coffee. So yeah, it's a perfect time to do a subscription Q&A. Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the 400 subscribers Q&A. And again, I just want to thank all of you that helped get me over 400. And now we're going to work our way to 500. But as promised, we're going to be doing a Q&A. And let's get this started. The first question comes from Drunken Punk 800. What was your worst experience at a movie theater, whether it be a hard film to sit through, annoying attendees, film out of focus, whatever? Doing this for 6 years, there's been so many of them. Whether it be the annoying fellow critic, which I did a real rant on, it'd be the Christmas tree lights trio, where I had three teenage dudes sitting in front of me and their cell phones were going off like Christmas lights. It was during This Is the End, and they got scared during the one jump scare. That was actually turned into a fun one. The worst one for me, and I can't remember the movie, but it was one of those PG-13 horror movies like Annabelle or Insidious 3 or something like that. It wasn't, I don't believe it was The Conjuring, because I would have remembered that. But the annoying couple, I don't really know what else to call them. Most of us, at least people that I know, like to give the courtesy seat. We all know what that is. If you don't know somebody, or even if you do know somebody, unless it's like a date or something, you usually, like, friends will give, you sit in a seat, right? Well, this theater was the biggest theater at the place, and the room was nowhere near filled, right? And I get there early because I want my seat, and this couple comes in and they come in my row and sit next to me, but they give me the courtesy seat. Fine, you could have scooted down further, but fine. But then she decides to change seats. And instead of going to the other side of him, or him moving one over or whatever, and there'd be two courtesy seats, right? She sits right next to me. Okay, fine. I got a job to do. I'm going to watch this movie. But then they proceed to talk during the whole movie, and she's one of those people that do the don't go in there, oh hell no, you know what I'm talking about, during horror movies, right? Don't run upstairs. They do that, fine. I'm sitting there fuming, but fine. I can never go say anything. I got a movie to watch. I got to review it, right? Then they start making out and all sort of, for probably half the movie I'm putting up with stuff, right? Finally, I just jump up out of my seat and move. And the reaction from her was like I did something wrong, So yeah, if the one that really stands out to me is the annoying couple. Do yourself a favor when you go to movies. Don't be that couple. Give courtesy seats. If you're going to do weird stuff in a theater, which I'm fine with. I don't know why you go to a movie theater. Maybe it's cheaper than a hotel. I don't know. But do it where no one's around, please. Next question's from Mo. He says, are there any movies that you've been meaning to watch for the longest time, but for some reason never got a chance to watch? Yes. The proverbial list is so long I can't remember them all. You put stuff on your Netflix queue and they sit there for so long that the licensing runs out and they disappear and you forgot they were on there. I'm going to throw a TV show into this too. I've been meaning to watch Stranger Things for the longest time, and I just went through my Netflix queue to see what was there that I hadn't watched yet that has been sitting there forever. Zodiac, Beasts of No Nation, The Wolf Pack, my Scientology movie, which is on the top of the list or near the top of the list. And the big one is There Will Be Blood. I don't know how I joke about the milkshake thing, and I've never even seen the movie. So, that's one that people says, you haven't seen that yet? Well, I watch a lot of movies, and that movie came out either right before or during, like right at the beginning of my being a critic, or even right before it. I don't remember. Um, and I just never had a chance to watch it. The next few questions are from Daniel Law, and he sent in a lot of stuff, so here we go. Which upcoming remake are you looking forward to the most? I might get lynched for this one. There's a few of them here, but I might get lynched for these first couple. First one's Hellboy. I want to see what an R-rated Hellboy movie looks like, and we'll talk about the other side of that coin here in a minute. The next one's The Lion King. I never wanted that until I saw The Jungle Book, and if it's going to look like The Jungle Book, which it probably is because you got the same director and the same studio behind it, and the voice cast they're getting together, seems like it's going to be pretty good so far. I'm looking forward to seeing what they could do with that. Alien Nation's another one. I've always liked that movie. I kind of like the TV show. I would like to see an updated version of that. Some of these are easy, like the Batman. It's like, well, I just want to see what they're going to do with Ben Affleck as Batman. Same thing with Green Lantern. I mean, we all know why we need to change that one. Looking forward to Death Wish. Big one is Dungeons and Dragons because, yeah, that movie sucked. And the cartoons of the Dragonlance cartoon they did that had Kiefer Sutherland as Raceland was really a letdown. Could have been so much better. Granted, I'd rather see him do like a Drizzt Do'Urden Forgotten Realms movie or a big time Dragonlance movie. I'm not sure what their plan is, but I'd love to see it be like something from the source material and not feeling like they have to start something new. And one I'm really looking forward to that's coming out soon is Murder on the Orient Express. I've never seen the original. I like a good murder mystery, so yeah, that's one I'm looking forward to as well. Next is the flip side of the coin. What upcoming remakes are you looking forward to the least? Hellboy. Because though I want to see what an R-rated Hellboy looks like, which Del Toro got close. I mean, come on. I mean, his movies are pretty dark. I love Ron Perlman's take on it. Doug Jones is one of my favorite people in this entire universe, let alone actors. I mean, the few times I've talked to him, I mean, he is just the coolest dude, and I look forward to talking to him again. So yeah, I wanted to see Del Toro's conclusion, so I was a little miffed that so it's a double-sided coin for me on that one, because as much as I'm happy they're gonna do something, I'm disappointed they're not doing something that they already started. Next, and this is a big one, though I love The Rock, Big Trouble in Little China, I would rather see, and I know Kurt Russell said he gives his blessing to this remake, right? But as much as I love The Rock and the fact they got the blessing, I'd rather see just another one with Kurt Russell. I mean, I know it's however many years later, but I'd rather see that. If you're going to do it, you might as well do a sequel, right? Some others are The Crow, which has been in development hell for what seems like forever. Another Friday the 13th, and you could probably throw Nightmare on Elm Street in there as well, because I know they're talking about trying to do another one of those because the Jackie Earle Haley reboot didn't work, which honestly I kind of like that movie because I like Jackie Earle Haley, and I thought that Freddy was pretty scary and just creepy, and just they brought back the child molestation part where he just wasn't a child killer, he was molesting too, which made him even worse. He wasn't the haha funny Freddy anymore, which I love that Freddy. But if you wanted to go back to scary, well, Jackie Earle Haley I thought did a good job, but people didn't seem to like that movie. And a big one for me, because I love the first movie, it's The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. They're not going to finish out everything with Daniel Craig and Rooney Mara. They're going to bring somebody new and just tell another story. I think it's one of the newer books that weren't by the original author. So, I'm kind of disappointed because, yeah, the Dragon Tattoo movie's a little long, but for me, I love slow burning mysteries like that. So, I wanted to see that one conclude, but, Hollywood didn't think it made enough money because for some reason they released it around Christmas time, which I know they were doing it more for Oscar consideration, which Rooney Mara was my best actress of that year. But they should have released it another time of the year. But they're not going to finish it, unfortunately, and that's too bad. Another one from Daniel Law. He says, some people are comparing Ridley Scott to George Lucas. Do I think that's fair? Mostly. both have taken their most popular franchises and tried to give us prequels that tried to make the past successes like feel more grandiose, right? And they, in the most part, failed. I mean, I'm not sure which failed the most. I mean, the Star Wars prequels almost made it to where we didn't have any more Star Wars. Thankfully, the Clone Wars was pretty good, which led to Disney buying it. And then we had Rebels, and now we've got the new ones we're getting now. So there's at least a chance for them to come back, which, I thought The Force Awakens was a good beginning, and Rebels is an amazing show. But of course, that's after the Lucas regime. Scott, however, has the better record as a director. He gave us The Martian, Black Hawk Down, Gladiator, G.I. Jane, Thelma and Louise, where, I mean, come on. I mean, yeah, American Graffiti, people like, I'm not the biggest fan of it. And Lucas only directed 4 Star Wars movies, the original and then the prequels. So, I mean, other than, I think, that THX movie, I mean, he hasn't really directed much else that people care about. So, as a director, Ridley Scott has, even though he's had some duds too, he has the better pedigree, but still, they both have that same, well, we want to relive, our past successes. So, like I said, I would say mostly. Another from Daniel, he says, it's been great seeing you do videos with Brad Jones, the cinema snob. Which midnight screening was my favorite to film? It has to be Yoga Hosers. And the biggest reason is because I didn't know I was going to be doing it. When I know I'm going to be doing these, I get nervous. Like if he, sends me a message and says, hey, can you meet me and do these movies like we just did with Dunkirk and Valerian? I think about it too much, and I'm nervous when I do it, and I think they turn out fine. But with Yoga Hosers, I was just at the movie. I was going to see it, and then so was he. And he saw me in the lobby, and he's like, you want to do this with me? I'm like, okay. And I didn't have time to think about it. And not having had time to think about it, I think I was more comfortable. It was just easier for me. But whenever I'm expecting it, I get a little nervous. Not, I've said before, I'm not the most comfortable in front of a camera. So when I've thought about it for a while, I mean, like I said, I think I do okay, but not knowing I was going to be doing that review with him right then and there, and I had to think on my feet, and I didn't have time, to think about it, I think that worked out a little better for me. Another from Daniel, in retrospect, what was the most underrated movie of last year, 2016? There's different reasons why I think things are underrated. For the fun factor, I'd say like Hardcore Henry, Elvis and Nixon, The Accountant. They were just fun movies, and I don't think they got the proper respect that they deserved. Some under-the-radar movies would be like The Infiltrator or Captain Fantastic, or especially Kubo and the Two Strings. Those are movies that, they weren't given the credit that they deserved. They were much better movies than just, well, you should rent them later. All 3 of those movies, I would have said, well, if you can see them in the theater, see them in the theater, because they're just really good and entertaining. But my most underrated is because of the lack of respect at the award shows. Okay, I know I liked La La Land and I like Moonlight, and for the record, I think Moonlight's the better film. I think it deserved the awards over La La Land, which, like I said, I like that movie, but, it kind of forgets it's a musical about halfway through until the end. But my most underrated would be Hell or High Water, which was my favorite movie of last year, because though the cultural relevance and the of a movie like Moonlight in the award shows is going to take precedence over what I think is a better movie. Like I said, and that's not taken away from Moonlight, but Hell or High Water had better characters, better story. Like I said, I understand why Moonlight won, but we can all agree that the Oscars get a little political. And if Moonlight were a better movie than Hell or High Water, I would admit it. But I think the acting was better in Hell or High Water. I thought the story was better. I thought just the tense moments were better. And then again, that comes as personal preference too, because some people, like the regular kind of story versus the dramatic story. Like I'm a big crime story guy, so that's going to resonate with me. So movies are subjective, of course, but for me, I think Hell or High Water gets looked over because people were showing so much attention to Moonlight and La La Land that it kind of got passed over, and it's really unfortunate because it's a fantastic movie. Lastly, from Daniel, are there any films that you wanted to like but just couldn't? Yeah, The Dark Knight Rises. Um, with The Dark Knight Rises, I saw that once in the theater, and I love Batman. And though I liked things about the movie, that movie is a sloppy mess. I don't care what anybody says. I know people love Christopher Nolan, and I like some of his movies. I don't like some of them as much as some do. I mean, I have my problems with, you know, even The Dark Knight and Batman Begins, but they're good movies. But this one just took what all the credit he earned for those first two movies and he flushed it down the toilet. Now I'm sure his story had to change because Heath Ledger dying, but you could have done better than what you gave us. I mean, there's just so many plot holes in that movie. There's I mean, usually someone that's a sucker for details like Nolan, falling for so many just dumb plot holes. That movie just falls apart. Plus it's way too long, and it's just not very exciting at times. I mean, he just kind of took the character of Batman, and I know he wanted to do the, well, Batman's real thing. Well, Batman still wouldn't have been a quitter, I don't think. There's just so many problems with to get into, but yeah, I want to like that movie because there is things to like in it, but it's such a mess that I can't even bring myself to watch it again. Next is from a man, Sean Chandler, who does this channel, Sean Chandler Talks About, good channel there. What is your Myers-Briggs personality type? When I looked at this question, I had no idea what it meant. I thought I had heard of that before, and I think Game Theory did something on it, or he did it on Film Theory, one of the two. I think Matt Pat did that. And so I didn't want to pay for the test, so I think I found the test. I'm not positive that I took the right thing, but I am an ISTJ. It was 53% introvert, which I'm not surprised. 6% thinking, 12% sensing, and 16% judging. You asked the question, so you probably know what that means. I don't know what the hell that means, so take it for what you will. Next from Sean is, what is a movie you wish you had written and directed? I took this in two different ways. If I had written and directed a movie and because of I love the way it is, and I wished it was mine, that would be The Usual Suspects, which is my favorite movie of all time. Because that movie, to me, I still find new stuff in it, and I'm like, man, that's so creative. I mean, Bryan Singer's just hasn't been doing great for a while, and it's unfortunate. I'd love to see him do something like Usual Suspects again. Now, granted, I don't want to see them do a Kaiser Soze prequel, which they do have a comic book, and I'm interested in that, but I don't want to see a movie of that because I don't want them to try to force in a twist or something. So if they're gonna, you couldn't do it right now because I don't want to spoil that movie because I swore I never would, but the person that ends up being him is older now. So I would love to have done as a perfect movie Usual Suspects, and to improve one, I'll go back to the last question, Dark Knight Rises, because that movie would have been way different in my hands, way different. It's really hard to explain how I'd do it. I would have even considered recasting Joker and used the whole thing about in the comics how there's either multiples or he changes. Things like that. I wouldn't have Batman be a quitter. I would have made Bane easier to. I would have had Tom Hardy as Bane, but you would have been able to understand him. I mean, there's just little things I would have changed. There's big things I would have changed. I wouldn't have tried to cram, the Breaking the Bat story, like they did. It felt crammed into that movie. You need other characters to do that movie. I wouldn't have had the stupid Joseph Gordon-Levitt as Robin thing. There's just so many things I would change. So yeah, if it's to improve a movie, it'd probably be The Dark Knight Rises. The next few questions are from Just Keep That in Mind. Where would you like to see the Star Wars franchise go once the current trilogy is complete? I know exactly where I'd like to see them go. First movies, I'd like them to take a break from the chapters for a while. Focus on some legends, say like Knights of the Old Republic, things like that. Things we don't know anything about. Maybe a character might show up, right? Like, I don't want to see a Han Solo movie. I don't want to see a Boba Fett movie. If there's any back movie I want to see, it's Obi-Wan, because I'd like to see what happened between 3 and 4 with him. We did get to see a little bit of that in Rebels, but that's right before A New Hope. So I'd like to see things like that, or even solo adventures for some of the new characters. You know, I mean, I know Rey's the main focus, but have like a Poe movie or something like that. You know, I don't want to see, you know, a BB-8 movie unless it's like a cartoon. I would totally dig that, but I don't want to see just a BB-8 movie. I don't want to see that be the focal point. I just think you need to have some of your established characters. If you're going to go with some of the new characters, I would say probably a Poe movie. But then eventually I'd like him to do another trilogy using some of the current characters, introduce some new characters, and then what's left of the original. Say if Luke survives through the whole thing, well, have him even be older, you know. Once they finish this, they should wait about, I don't know, like 5 years. Tell some cool stories, like I said, like Knights of the Old Republic, and then come back to it. I don't want to see them force another trilogy just to make money. I'd like them to take time to let some things happen in the world. Don't go 30 years, but, you know, go 5-6 years and then come up with another idea. Next question from Just Keep That in Mind. Who's your favorite host of Price is Right? Is it Bob Barker, Drew Carey, or do you prefer old school guy like Bill Cullen? It's Bob Barker. I grew up with Bob Barker. You know, spay and neuter your pets, all that stuff. You know, I watched Price is Right a lot as a kid. So, you know, it's Bob Barker. And then, you know, of course, you think of his time in Happy Gilmore, and that was one of the greatest things I've ever seen. You know, watching Bob Barker beat up Adam Sandler. So if you ever want to feel good about life, just look up on YouTube, you know, Bob Barker beating up Adam Sandler. But yeah, I'm a Bob Barker guy. I love Drew Carey. I like his comedy. I grew up with his comedy and stuff. But I mean, even now they gave him the long mic and things like that, and they're trying to make him more like Bob Barker, which is not a bad idea. But I mean, I don't know. I'd rather see Drew Carey do like Whose Line versus Price is Right. But you know, I mean, he's fine. I mean, Bob Barker couldn't do it forever. I mean, you were always afraid he was just going to be like a skeleton standing there with that thin microphone. But yeah, I'm a Bob Barker guy. Next question, just keep that in mind. Do you think that John Bass will be nominated for a Best Supporting Actor Oscar for his role in Baywatch? No. Besides, like other things of his, he'd probably get it stuck somewhere, and it wouldn't be funny then either. I will say this, though. I'm not totally against him as an actor, because in the movie Loving, he was really good in that. So I don't want to spoil anything about that movie. That's a great movie. And that'd probably be another overlooked movie that a lot of people didn't see, Loving with Joel Edgerton. And he was really good in that. So, I mean, it takes, you know, a comedic actor and gives them a somewhat serious role, and he does really good. So, yeah, for Baywatch, no, because Baywatch is awful. Sorry, Rock, I love you, but it's awful. But yeah, if you see Loving, you'd like him in that. But no, I know this is a joke question, but yeah, that ain't happening. This is more of a local question from Just Keep That in Mind. You work for WAND. Who is your all-time favorite WAND news personality, past or present? I've worked with so many great people, and I work with great people right now. I mean, yeah, we've had some doozies too, but we've had a lot of great people. I love Scott England, Tara Barrett, Greg Trumbull. There's many others, but my all-time favorite, and it's because this person is a really good friend of mine up to this day, and that's Gail Simpson, because I met her when I was a kid. So whenever I went to go work for WAND, there were some people that worked there that I was excited to work for. I was excited to work with Ron Rector. I was excited to work with some others. It's just like, because you watch these people and it's like, well, now I get to work with them. What are they really like, right? But Gail was someone I remembered from my childhood, and you meet her and she's everything you hope she'd be. You know, she's just really nice, and she works hard, very hard. I mean, I used to work for her in the mornings, and we would do at the time, we'd do all our full screens in Photoshop. And I'd come in the morning and there'd be a stack of papers like this of like 40 new full screens. So, I mean, I had to learn to make stuff really fast in Photoshop. And, but, you know, Gail was such a hard worker, such a nice person. And to this day, I'm friends with her. And, you know, she is doing some teaching now, and she's invited me to speak to her classes and things about being a critic and everything. She's just a really genuine person, and it's one of those people you've admired for years, and then you meet them and they're awesome, and that's what Gail is to me. So yeah, Gail Simpson, I would have to, like I said, that's not discounting all the other cool people and people that have become my friends that I work with now and in the past, but my first favorite and will always be my favorite is Gail Simpson. Lastly, from Just Keep That in Mind, will you still remember us little people when you become a big success on YouTube? No, I won't. No. No, look, this channel to me, I never wanted to be just about me. I do this because I have fun talking to people about movies. I do this because this is my way to get my ideas out there, but I also want to hear other people's ideas and have cool civil discussions. I never wanted this site to be, you know, like an Ain't It Cool that basically becomes, you know, they put a story up and then the first comment is F you, you know, you're a effing idiot and all that stuff. I don't want my channel to be like that, and you're going to get trolls, and I know that, but this channel to me is just, I like this to be like a community, and right now it's a small community and I only want to see it grow, but not because I want to stroke my own ego. Whenever I was doing the local TV segment, people would see me out in public and treat me like I'm famous at times. It was weird. And I've always found that weird whenever people are just like, you're famous. I'm like, no, I'm not. You know, it's just kind of, you know, it's like I'm just working hard and I'm doing something I love and I want to have fun doing it, but I want it to be fun for everybody else too. I want the public to have fun. I want whoever watches this to have fun. I don't want this to be all about me. And I can't stand that. This is the weird one. I've signed autographs before. I've signed a few, and it's just, I did it because they asked me, but because I'm not going to say, well, no, because then I'll seem like a jerk, right? But I did it because they asked me to, and it still felt weird to me though. So no, though I'm not going to remember everybody's name if I become this big famous YouTube celebrity guy, but I mean, I'm not going to treat the world like I'm above it. The people that watch this channel and support me are the reason why I keep doing this. I do this because it's fun, and I do this for the people that enjoy it. So if you enjoy it, thank you. If you support me, definitely thank you. All the support means the world to me. Next question comes from Andy Hoove. Biggest guilty pleasure movie. There's a lot of them. You could say like Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, or, you know, there's weird ones like that I like. Passenger 57, Bloodsport would be another one. But my biggest guilty pleasure, it was my first cult classic movie, and that had to be Weird Al's UHF. If I'm ever in a really bad mood, that's the movie that can put me in a good mood. So yeah, it'd have to be Weird Al's UHF. I just love Weird Al anyway. So I was one of those like, ooh, Weird Al's got a movie, you know, and yeah, that movie, I can be in the worst mood and I'll turn it on and it'll put me in a good mood. So yeah, it'd be UHF. Next one from Andy Hoove. What film or films made you fall in love with movies? I can tell you the exact movie and I can tell you the exact scene. That'd be The Usual Suspects, my favorite movie of all time. I always like to tell the joke, and I think I said this in the last Q&A. I went on a date to see this movie, and I don't remember like anything about the date, but I remember that movie well. The exact scene's the lineup scene. The give me the keys scene. I just remember thinking I'm rooting for the bad guys, and I loved it. So that movie, like I said earlier, I find new things in that movie every time I watch it, and I've seen that movie countless times. I buy every new copy that comes out, every anniversary. I'm waiting for the next anniversary Blu-ray to come out because I just can't wait to buy it. That's my favorite movie of all time. It's the movie that I saw that I go, wow, movies could be this. And that's when I really started paying attention to, you know, the different movies coming out, looking forward to movies coming out, seeing Usual Suspects. I look forward to Seven, and of course the big twist in that has a connection to Usual Suspects. They're not in the same universe or anything, but actor-wise, it's like, wow, he's in this. I don't like spoiling movies, even older ones like that. So yeah, it's the Usual Suspects. I love the characters. I love the story. I love the twists. I love the dialogue, the look, just everything about it. I love every second of that movie. Next question from Andy Hoove. What is the best and worst trends currently? There's a couple best trends. The first one is indie directors getting big budget chances. The directors for the new Thor, the director for Doctor Strange. You get to see these directors that don't have much experience. The Russo brothers getting to do Captain America, Winter Soldier, and knocking it out the park, and they hadn't really done anything. New directors getting a chance and getting to take chances is a really cool thing to me, because you get to see different visions and different looks. I mean, Scott Derrickson doing Doctor Strange, I mean, he was known for horror movies, and they're bringing him in to do a movie about magic, and he gave us, a mind F, right? So it was fantastic, and who knows what just a regular director or well-known director would have done with something like that. And also I like that it seems like, though it's not over yet, it seems like there's a lot less limited releases now. And I love that because more people are getting a chance to see more movies. It may take a little longer to get there, but it seems like a lot of theaters are bringing in, the movies that are usually wouldn't get big time releases, or you'd have to travel to Chicago, St. Louis, or whatever for, like a bigger city. And they're getting more of a chance. And now with VOD, a lot of those movies, they say, we'll see it before it's in theaters kind of thing. You never know what kind of gem you're going to find. So it's always nice to see, especially when the movies are really good and they're not wide release, they at least get a chance at wide release and not always stuck where you have to go travel for them. When it comes to the worst trend, I know exactly what the worst trend is. I mean, everyone's going to think like zombies or some, or superhero movies or something like that. And superhero movies are probably getting there, but though they're doing well and they were the first, it's Marvel's fault that everyone wants a shared universe now. I mean, come on. I mean, I understand DC wanting what Marvel has, but now they're talking about doing a shared universe with Transformers and G.I. Joe, which, granted, in the comics they did that, but do we really need it in the movies? I mean, just read the comics. You got the Dark Universe, which I kind of like the Mummy, and I like the idea, but yet another shared universe. And now I saw the other day on the Annabelle movie that's coming out, it says the Conjuring universe. It's like, come on. How many movies? I mean, just give us good Conjuring movies, you know what I mean? I don't want to see shared universes for everything. I'm looking forward to, after Infinity War and the big Marvel movies, I'm looking forward to them, after seeing Spider-Man, I'm looking to see them step down and do smaller movies, because I don't want to see the world in peril every movie. I'm tired of it. I mean, when Suicide Squad had, well, the world's going to end, it's like, come on, you had Man of Steel, the world's going to end. You had Batman v Superman, the world's going to end. You got Suicide Squad, the world's going to end. Wonder Woman even, which is a fantastic movie. Near the end of the movie, it's like, God, the world may end. Granted, they kept it isolated to that area, and I know that you could say that about Batman v Superman also, but I mean, it's just the implications. I like that Spider-Man had this villain. It's like, yeah, they got these weapons, but this guy's selling them in city. He's not like going worldwide with them or anything. So I want to see smaller stories, and where I'm fine with the universe being shared, I don't have to see 1,500 Avengers movies anymore. Seeing the one, I mean, the first one's fantastic. Age of Ultron was a little weak, but then we got Civil War, and that felt like more of an Avengers movie. So, there's that. But I want to see characters share movies, but I don't want to see after Infinity War, and I know we're going to get Justice League and many others, but I think the shared universe is something that needs to. I mean, they're talking Ghostbusters shared universe. I've heard so many different. Well, we want that too, and I'm kind of tired of it. The last question is also from Andy Hoove. He says, which Transformer movie is the worst? I really had to think about this one because they all suck. I mean, the first one isn't as offensive as the rest of them, I don't think, but it still had a lot of problems. And I remember thinking, I kind of like this. It was kind of that Phantom Menace feeling. It's like, I want to like this because it's something I grew up with, but, I can't. I really had to think about it, and I picked The Last Night. And it's not, like part 3, especially with the Transformers, kind of got it right. I mean, the humans were still stupid, but at least the robots are right. Part 2 is just pathetically bad. Part 4, I mean, you effed up the Dinobots, so of course that's a big strike with me. And just the movie's just convoluted anyway. Third one at least had, some twists and stuff that made sense. But The Last Night just kind of pisses all over the 86 movie, which is still the best Transformers movie and still holds up for the most part to this day. And, I mean, it just craps on the idea of Unicron and, craps on some of the cool characters like Hot Rod. And just it's just so bad. And sitting through that, I mean, I wanted to walk so bad, but it's like, maybe it'll get better. Nope, doesn't get better. I mean, they turn Optimus Prime bad for 10 seconds, and they tease a cool Bumblebee movie, but come to find out that that's not going to be the Bumblebee movie. I thought the Bumblebee movie was going to be the World War I or II or whatever it was. No, it's going to be in the 80s, so of course he's going to be the old Bug, which, I don't know, man. The Transformers movies just need to stop, or give someone else the movie at least, because Michael Bay, he crapped all over it all the way to the bank, but still he crapped all over it. So yeah, The Last Night's the worst. I mean, granted, it didn't have, Mark Wahlberg going, "You're trying to have sex with my daughter," and then the guy having the Romeo and Juliet rule to where he can do things to, to her because he was a certain age. Well, I don't remember how that stupid rule worked, but it was stupid. And, it made me happy that T.J. Miller died in a movie because he just wasn't funny because, well, he wasn't given much to work with. And just all of them are bad, but this newest one to me was the most offensive because it tried to take what was amazing in the 80s, and dump all over it and gave us however long that awful movie was, and we had to sit through it. Thank you so much for helping me hit the milestone of over 400 subscribers. And do me a favor, just if you like the channel, keep sharing it with your friends. Let's get over 500, 600, and to infinity and beyond. Remember, I just want this channel to be about not just me, but you guys too. I want this to be a place for people to have fun, to talk about movies, talk theories, whatever we want to talk about. It's just fun for me, man, and I want it to be fun for you guys too. And even if no one watched it, I'd probably still do it. But being that I know people do watch this and enjoy it, it means the world to me that they do. And I can't thank you enough for the support for the years I've been doing this. And as always, thank you so much for watching. But remember, it's only just one guy's opinion. I'm Geno Reynolds from The Real Geno. Till next time.